Today's video is on lesson 3.5 linear equations and problem solving. And there are basically three steps, and we've discussed these before. The first step is making a verbal model, then labeling our verbal model and defining the variable, and then coming up with an algebraic model, or in most cases, an equation. So problem number one says a page of pictures for a yearbook is 8.5 inches by 11 inches. The top margin is 3/4 inches and the bottom margin is 1 1/4 inches. The space between the pictures is 3/16 of an inch. How high can each picture be to fit 7 down the length of the page? So we need to find the height of a picture. So I have drawn here a picture of what the page would look like with some dimensions written in. So we know that the page is 8.5 wide and 11 inches tall. We know that the pictures are on the page. We don't care how many across there are, but we need to fit 7 of them high. The top margin is 3/4 of an inch. The bottom is 1 1/4 inch. And then the distance between each picture, which I have labeled over here, is 3/16 of an inch. So if we add, and this would be our verbal model, if we add the top margin plus the bottom margin plus the space in between, and we need to make sure that all of that plus the height of the picture is going to equal 11 inches, or the height of the page. Okay, so we could also write this in boxes if we wanted to. That would be perfectly fine. Or we could just write it out. So now the next step, once we have our verbal model, the next step is to label. So the top margin, that distance is 3/4 of an inch. The bottom margin is 1 1/4 of an inch. The space between each picture is 3/16 of an inch. And we need the height of the picture, which is going to be x, but there's 7 of them, so we need 7x, and that equals a height of 11. So now we need to say what x equals, and x is the height of a picture. So then we would go through and we would solve that. So then we would take, and so now I have my verbal model up here. I've substituted in or come up with my labels. Now I'm going to write my algebraic model, which is just taking it out of the boxes. Now this 3/16 of an inch, that's just the distance between two pictures. But if I have 7 pictures tall, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, how many of those gaps do I have? I don't just have one, I have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 of them. So I need to take this 3/16 and multiply it by 6 as well. Okay, so in that is the process in which we are going to solve some of these problems. Okay, you have 2 more examples, and I'd like you to go through that process of writing a verbal model and then also making your labels and then writing the algebraic model from that. So example number 2 says at West High School, 362 students take Spanish. This number has been increased by a rate of 20 per year. The number of students taking French is 259 and has been decreasing at a rate of about 3 per year. At these rates, when will there be 2 times as many students taking Spanish as French? So write your verbal model. You want twice as many students in Spanish than French. And your third example, Jim can run 11 feet per second and Sarah can run 13 feet per second. How far ahead of Sarah must Jim be not to fall behind Sarah in the first 15 seconds that they run? So we want to give Jim a far enough head start that Sarah won't catch him in the first 15 seconds. Does that make sense? How far ahead of Sarah must Jim be not to fall behind in the first 15 seconds? So try those problems, write your verbal model, labels, and your algebraic model, and try solving them and bring them to class tomorrow. Have a great evening.